Well, hello everyone. Here's Richard again, back with stuff we can do in Excel. So we've looked at how to use the Subtotals tool with a range of data. We've looked at how to do subtotals when you've got a pivot table, a table of data. Now let's look at how to use pivot tables to get subtotals. So let's just get right into it. And so what we've got is we've got our data, and you've seen this data before if you've watched the prior videos. I'm going to first turn this data into a table just because it makes it easier to work with and when we're in pivot table. So I'll click anywhere in the range of data. I can hit insert and then table, and I do have headers, so now I've got me a table of data. This allows me to sort the data any way I wish. But the next thing I'll do is I'll click in here, and I'm going to go insert. I could insert just a pivot table. Matter of fact, I'll just insert a pivot table here, and but the other option, by the way, is to go over to the center area with charts, click on where it says pivot table, click down and pick a pivot table and a pivot chart. You can do both at the same time, which I usually use this feature because I'm going to be creating a visualization. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and do that. So instead of clicking on pivot table, click on pivot chart and pivot table. I'm going to put it on a new worksheet, and we'll hit OK. And so here's my pivot table over here. My pivot chart sort of in the center of the screen. We'll make it bigger just for fun. And I'm going to take my sales, and I want to do sales by year. And if you notice, I now have my year and my subtotal of sales for each year and my total sales for the year. I can do the same thing. I can bring cost of goods sold down. I can bring gross margin down, and I would get that same table where I've got my individual years with the amount of sales, cost of goods sold, and gross margin for each of those years. Now, the disadvantage of this over using the Subtotals tool on a range of data is that I can't open and close this. I can't expand this to see what all the items were in 2016 or what all the items were in 2017. Now, I could certainly do a table like that. That's not something I looked at. I could bring quarters down here, and I could put quarters in, and it would sort of break that up, right? And now that's starting to look a lot like that subtotals visualization that we got when we looked at using the Subtotals tool in a range of data. I'm going to pull that back up and pull that up here. So you can start to get that data if you want to do it in a pivot table. So that's really nice. You can do this in the pivot table, and I've got for each one of these, I've got sales, I've got cost of goods sold, and the gray is the gross margin. So that's kind of useful to you. A great way to create these tables or this information, this sorted information, this subtotal information in pivot tables instead of doing it in using the subtotal tool on a range of data. Now, the other advantage, of course, here is I can manipulate this and I can filter it, and if I wanted to create a filter here, I could. All I've got to do, I've already got that filter built in. I can go down here and check, and I can just check if I just wanted to look at 1 year. I can, and I've got a visualization associated with that, right? I can add the data labels to it, so that would be helpful. I didn't add the data label there, but I will, and add the data label here. And I could change this every time I went in and change the year. I'd get a different number, right? So that would allow me to a little more flexibility because I can work with this chart directly from the pivot table that I created. If I wanted to go back and look at all the years, I can do that as well just by clicking on select all. Okay, and it's got all my years back. So that's just hopefully a little helpful tool on how to use pivot tables to get the same kind of subtotal information that we got using the Subtotal tool and the Subtotal function.